Chapter 2 I-95 North. There are a lot of things Larry loved about the old Buick. One of its endearing qualities was the heater. After a few minutes of idle, you could reheat your morning breakfast, or warm up your packed lunch your wife loving packed, with little notes saying how much she loved you and to hurry home for a surprise. But now, when he turns the old heater on, the familiar smell of burnt condoms fills the old car. Plastic, that had been left in front of the heater for too long. As Larry flipped on his right blinker to pull of the interstate, he asked Sandy, "Are you warm enough? I don't want to melt you." The plastic head turned in his direction saying, "I don't get cold anymore." The rest area was one of the few you would find on your way though West Virginia. Truck drivers, lop lizards, and loneliness. On his left was a few kids tackling the summer days. For a moment Larry faded back to his youth. As a kid his parents would drag him along with his brother and their two sisters, packing everyone one in what he called the white sardine can. An old dusty milk white Chevy station wagon. The kids had spilt so much soda and food, his father pulled up the old carpet. This revealed one of Larry's favorite things. Little removable plates that covered holes in the floor. He would bring along M80s, light them and drop them down the hole. The little explosion would freak out the drivers that were following too close or unburned gas fumes. The kids happily played kickball, as Larry found a secluded parking spot. "I guess you don't need to go to the restroom?" Larry asked with a half-joking, half-disheartened smile. The silicon wife just smiled and reached down for another Stephen King book. As Larry popped the latch of the old car, he looked back at her as she flipped the cover of Night Shift, watching her eyes zone in on Chapter 1. Closing the door he said, "Sandy, I guess you know, but don't draw the eyes of the passers-by." She didn't say a word, just flipped a page. Larry made his way to the restrooms. This state had gone green. Toilets filled with some type of oil instead of water. Everything about the world was changing, becoming unnatural. Was this world in some type of tailspin? Or was there some type of evil force at work? He wondered as he traced the red line on the map that hung beside the men's bathroom. It snaked up the coast to their starting point. Maine. Sandy had read most of King's books. In fact, she was rereading most of them now. In some strange way she felt that she should do the thing that she was doing right before death. Jokingly she said the power of King's words kept her alive. Larry had only read one of King's books, The Dark Tower. Sometimes when he became hypnotized by the broken yellow and white lines along the interstate he felt a kinship to Roland and Jake, when Roland would put him to sleep with the bullet trick. Maybe this was Larry's quest for the Dark Tower, he thought as he zipped up his pants. After all, one must find the king. And if there was a king of Maine it was Stephen King. He owned most of it. Larry walked back to his car. He picked up his step when he saw a number of people standing around his car, pointing and laughing. One could be heard saying, "This guy's got a sex doll in his passenger seat, and he has her posed as if she is reading a book." Sandy sat there motionless, with her shiny index finger holding her place. Her glass eyes reflected the hecklers, the onlookers that surrounded her carriage. Larry pushed past the people without saying a word, fumbled for his keys and unlocked the door. Hoping in he heard some women yell freak. Looking over at Sandy he whispered, "Let's go." Spinning out of the rest area, Larry looked back in his rear view. The townspeople of Rest Stop, one of their trip has went back to doing whatever they were doing. For a moment he thought, the short red-haired man, the one from the bachelor party, was propped up against the tree watching the event unfold. Sandy wasn't very talkative for the first few miles after the Rest Stop encounter. She managed to say a few words when they went under the first of a few tunnels. "I wonder if the weight of the mountain would ever make one of these tunnels cave in. 100 or so people trapped inside a mountain, with only car food. I wonder how long it would take, after the gas and batteries ran out, for the people to turn on each other, how long would it take them to become cannibals inside the mountain? As Larry passed each light that swung overhead in the tunnel, he would glance up, wondering if it could all just cave in. After a few months, Sandy, in her polycarbonate form, would be the only survivor. After all, they can't eat plastic. Larry's father once told him when the family was on one of their silly road trips. The best way to stay up driving was cheap black coffee and what he called road food. Tortilla chips and stadium cheese dip. He would always grab a bag and the dip, saying, "You can't fall asleep with heartburn," and he was right, you can't. Self-inflicted pain is the sign of a true night traveler. When people passed Larry on the interstate, a few of the nosy drivers, the ones that would watch you more than they would watch the road as they drove by you, would take a double take from time to time as they noticed Sandy's shine, the unmistakable shine of plastic. On the right in the darkness, was one of green road signs. It was time to turn onto I-95 North. 20 cups of road coffee and 800 miles to go, he would have his Sandy in Maine.